Hello and welcome to this CNBC Africa special on the state of the rail network here in South Africa. I am Fifi Peters. While South Africa's railway system stands as the most developed in Africa and is the backbone of the country's economy, it continues to underperform. Security-related incidences across the main passenger and the freight routes continue to rise, and this is despite interventions that have been put in place to derail perpetrators. So the purpose of today's discussion is to unpack the latest annual report that was released from the Railway Safety Regulator, just to better understand where the challenges currently lie right now. We will be reflecting on the improvements that have been seen in some parts of the rail network, and also discussing how to build on these improvements for the betterment of the entire rail system. We'll be joined by an esteemed panel of CEOs who will explore the key facets of rail safety. They'll share insights and strategies to put rail safety back on track. But before that, I do have the pleasure of welcoming the Deputy Minister of Transport, Deputy Minister Lisa Mangu, who is going to give us a brief overview of the state of safety report for the 2022-2023 financial year. Deputy Minister, we are certainly looking forward to hearing what you have to say, sir. I do hand the floor to you.
Good morning, Fifi. Good morning to your viewers and fellow South Africans and wherever you are viewing us from. It's my singular honor and privilege to be here today, presenting, as you've introduced, the state of safety report for the outgone year. So we gather here not merely to present data and statistics, but to sound a resounding call to action. The State of Safety Report for 2022-23 has unveiled a stark reality that demands our immediate attention and collective effort. In the heart of South Africa, our railways, the lifeblood of our nation, are at the crossroads. The report has cast a revealing light on the challenges and triumphs within our railway sector, and it underscores the urgency for cooperation among all stakeholders. Our railways, connecting cities and communities, have seen 10,746 negative events in the past year, a disconcerting number that encompasses 1,833 safety-related operational occurrences and a staggering 8,643 security-related incidents. These events paint a complex and multifaceted picture of safety concerns that plagues our railway system. Over a span of 5 years, these negative events have persistently affected the safety profile of our railways. This is not a mere statistic, but a call for resolute action and reform. Operator productivity, a cornerstone of our railway system, is under siege. Transnet Freight Rail, commonly known as TFR, recorded a 12% decrease in train kilometers, reflecting issues like rolling stock unavailability, floods, and vandalism. Conversely, Gautrain witnessed a 156% increase in train kilometers and a 136% rise in passenger kilometers, while PRASA's production declined by a staggering 74%, primarily due to challenges like the mainline passenger services disruption and vandalism. Safety-related operational occurrences, while showing improvement in some areas, reveal significant concerns in people-related occurrences, station infrastructure, and spillage and leakages, explosion, or loss of dangerous goods. These occurrences not only disrupt our railway, but also compound the risks we face. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans, security-related incidents constitute a mammoth challenges, with 97% of these incidents being theft and vandalism. Theft of assets alone accounted for 77.6% of these incidents, illustrating the gravity of these issues. Between 2018 and 2019 financial year and 2022-23 financial year, the rail sector recorded 109.5 fatalities, 109.5, we can round it up at 110 fatality and waiting index incidents, with 92 fatalities and 175 injuries from safety-related operational occurrences, and 13 fatalities and 58 injuries from security-related incidents. While there has been a reduction in the fatality and waiting indexes, we must not underestimate the gravity of these incidents. Our vigilance and mitigation, therefore, must persist. Collisions, derailments, level crossing occurrences, and people struck by trains all demand our collective and immediate attention. Collisions through lacking facilities are a stark reminder of the need for infrastructure improvements and enhanced operational safety measures. The increase in derailments per million train kilometers is a clear signal of persistent risks. The decrease in level crossing occurrences must not obscure the fact that they still result in fatalities and injuries. These intersections require enhanced safety measures. We also witness a substantial decrease in the number of people struck by trains, but regions like Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape still need targeted safety measures. Platform train interchange occurrences decreased, but they continue to result in fatalities and injuries, especially in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape. We must ensure improved safety at these interchanges. The report being presented here today delves into various security concerns, focusing on theft and malicious damage to property. The growing incidents of illegally crossing railway lines emphasize the need for enhanced railway security. In response to these challenges, the Railway Safety Regulator has undertaken various interventions, including safety permit issuance, inspections, audits, and the development of regulations and safety standards. However, the journey ahead is long and demanding, and we must rise to the occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, the State of Safety Report 2022-2023 is not merely a report. It is a mirror that reflects the challenges and opportunities that lie before us. Our railways are the veins that connect our nation, and we cannot allow them to wither away. It is our collective responsibility to take immediate action, to collaborate, and to drive the reforms necessary to ensure the safety, reliability, and prosperity of our railways. Let us work together to pave a brighter future for South Africa's railway system. I thank you.
And we thank you, Minister, for those opening remarks, insightful remarks, just reflecting on the state of the rail system right now in South Africa, essentially being a mirror of the economy, being the veins that weave all sectors of the economy together. And those veins, as I said, not performing to the degree that they should be right now, and as reflected in the statistics that the Minister has just shared, Deputy Minister Lisa Mangu. So let's move on and continue to get some perspective on the latest safety rail report that has been released. We now Welcome, Boy Johannes Nobunga. He is the board chairperson for the Rail Safety Regulator, to share some of his insights and also reflect on what the Deputy Minister has said. Of course, he joins me in studio. Chair, thanks so much for your time. An interesting report this time around. I mean, there are pockets of improvement, but in the main, the state of the rail system continues to reflect challenges that need to be addressed, in the words of the Deputy Minister, with urgency. Just your reflections on how rail stands currently right now, and also some of the words that the Deputy Minister himself has shared.
No, thanks, Fifi. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my gratitude to the Minister of Transport for providing this critical overview of the State of Safety Report 2022-23. This report is indeed a reflection of the current state of our railway system, and it underscores the pressing need for concerted efforts to address the challenges we face. The Deputy Minister has highlighted the stark reality that confronts the railway sector. The statistics presented in this report are not just numbers. They represent the safety and well-being of our fellow South Africans who rely on the railway for the daily commute and transportation of goods. They also speak to the state and well-being of our railway infrastructure. We cannot afford to ignore the issues at hand. The safety of our railways is of paramount importance, and it is a responsibility we take very seriously as the Rail Safety Regulator. We acknowledge the gravity of the situation and are committed to addressing these challenges head on. We understand that the safety permits issuance, inspections, audits, and the development of regulations and safety standards are crucial steps, and will continue to work tirelessly in these areas to ensure the high level of safety possible. The Deputy Minister rightly emphasized the need for collaboration. Our railways are a complex and interconnected network that requires the combined efforts of all stakeholders. Drive the reforms necessary to ensure the safety, reliability, and prosperity of our railways. I want to ensure the public that we are fully aware of the challenges facing the railway sector, and we are committed to making tangible improvements. We will be working closely with the railway operators and relevant authorities to enhance the safety measures, improve infrastructure, and contribute towards solution to deter theft and vandalism. We also understand the importance of proactive safety measures at intersections, stations, and platform train interchanges. We must not underestimate the significance of the incidents mentioned in the report, whether they involve collisions, derailments, level crossing occurrences, or people struck by trains. These incidents are a call to action, and we must respond with agency and diligence. In closing, I think it is important that I emphasize that the State of Safety Report is not just a document. It is a roadmap for the future of our railways. We, as the Rail Safety Regulator, are committed to working with all stakeholders to ensure the safety, efficiency, and reliability of our railways. The journey ahead is challenging, but together we can overcome these obstacles and pave the way for a brighter and safer future for South Africa's railway systems. Thank you for your attention, and also bear in mind that together we can go a long way in ensuring that our railways are safe and are prosperous, and they serve the nation with distinction.
All right. Thanks so much, Chair, for those words. Of course, we do need the rail system to do exactly that if we are to get the economy in itself on track. So let's move straight into the panel right now, which will be looking into analysing the Railway Safety Regulator State of Safety report for the period 2022-2023. The theme of this year's conversation will be on getting rail safety on track. And joining me for this conversation, the esteemed panel of CEOs I was talking about, beginning with Mmuso Selaledi. He's the acting CEO for the Railway Safety Regulator, who's joining us in studio. We do have William Dax, the CEO of the Gautrain Management Agency. Also, Ms. Mandisa Mondi, General Manager for the Safety Division over at Transnet Freight Rail. Nelson Milafani, the acting CEO of PRASA Rail, and of course we have just heard from the chair of the Railway Safety Regulator himself, Mr. Boy Johannes Nobunga, who is joining us in studio. So first of all, good afternoon, good morning, gentlemen and lady Ms. Mandisa. Good morning to you all. Musa, I want to start off with you because you and I had a conversation before this discussion started, and I said, Musa, you don't have a good story to tell. We're looking at the statistics whereby it's over 10,000 negative incidences that have been reported. Of those, around 1,800 or so operational negative occurrences. The majority continue to be security-related occurrences that are mainly driven by theft and vandalism. So as we have this conversation reflecting on what rail safety and all that is looking like right now, your views on why the picture is not getting better.
Yes, good morning, Fifi. Good morning to you and everyone. It's always good to start with why. Why do we produce this report? So we are an entity of the National Department of Transport. Our Act enjoins us to produce this annual report on the safety of persons, the environment, and the public at large. Operators, who you have three here, who we call major class A operators, we have many others, heritage, steam, municipalities, the mining industry, they are then compelled to report their occurrences in terms of Section 37 of the Act. That brings us to the report. But why must we report on safety? Well, safety, as the Deputy Minister has correctly indicated, rail is the veins of the economy. We are supposed to move the masses of our people and move the masses of our goods that go all across the breadth of the country. So the business case is, if you have safer railways, you will have more productive railways and you will have a better country. We need a strong PRASA, a strong Transnet, and a world-class BOC, otherwise known as Gautrain. So as you've correctly said, the statistics tell us about two baskets. The first basket we call operational occurrences. So on raw numbers, we have improved in that area. We have come down from about just above 10,000. We've gone just above, we've gone to about 1,800. We were at about 2,100. On the security ones, that's where our issue is. We're at about 7,700. We've gone up to above 8,000. What does that tell us? You have to see it in the context of earlier, the Deputy Minister explained that we have decreased productivity levels from operators. So when you dissect the three major operators, Transnet, it's common cause. The President has set up the National Logistics Crisis Committee to unlock some of the challenges. They've done some great work, but government is coming on board. So there's a 15% decrease in productivity levels. Transnet has a lower productivity. PRASA has a lower productivity. Gautrain is an offshoot. They actually have increased. They are beginning to recover to their pre-COVID levels. So a 15% decrease in productivity levels is offset by an 11% decrease in occurrences on the operational side, but an increase on the safety side. That's why our summation is that we're encouraged, but we're definitely not proud of the situation we find ourselves in. It's even less proud if you compare it. Our comparisons in the main are in the report, but if you read the report as a whole, it gives you another trend, a 5-year trend, which tells you the situation before COVID,
Sure.
the normalized situation we have, and then a 10-year and a 13-year trend, which tells you a longer long-term trend about the direction in which our railways are heading. But that's just to set the scene.
But let's hear from the rail operators themselves. And William, I want to talk to you because you're the A-star student. Or maybe let's give you an A, just because you're not quite at pre-pandemic levels as yet, but you have moved a whole lot more people in the year under review. Your trains have been doing a lot more mileage as well. Perhaps just reflect on how you are witnessing and experiencing safety at the Gautrain and how the year under review, the period under review has been like for you.
Fifi, it's been every year is interesting, right? But to frame this one, it's post-COVID, but in a different economic situation, in a different working environment where I think office-based workers are finding some sort of hybrid between work from home and being in the office. And that definitely shows in our numbers, very pleasing recovery, but still not fully back at pre-COVID levels. So for us, that's a big focus area. On the operations and the safety side, I haven't seen the full report yet, but from the data which we have here at Gautrain, I think it's been a steady year. I think there's been a nice focus from the operator towards looking at things like human factors, trying to continually improve from a good base in the past. So I think where we stand, we're trying to look forward now. We looking for continual improvement, continual growth in numbers, and also just continuing to invest in the system. You know, keeping it up to that A grade, and thank you for the compliment on that. But staying A grade means we have to keep investing and not to ever take our eye off the ball. So for us, a nice, interesting year lies ahead, and we'll try and keep up our standards and get our passengers back.
I'd just like to know the increase in passengers that have come back. You mentioned the full year post COVID-19. So would we say that the majority of the people that have come back are people who used to use the Gautrain are now using it again as their bosses at work say that you need to work from the office? Are you getting new passengers perhaps as a result of the passenger rail service not living up to most people's expectations? If you can just give us a bit of color on that line item.
Yeah, Fifi, it's absolutely fascinating. We obviously took back some of our passengers who had used the service before. But when we do our passenger surveys, we're carrying a lot younger people, which is fantastic news. I couldn't tell you exactly where they come from, but in terms of demographics, younger, more female riders than male, which is a lovely trend. And people are using the buses and the mini buses, which we run more. So the indications are that we're attracting people who don't necessarily have access to a car. And for me, that's brilliant. That's absolutely fantastic, because you'll remember in the beginning, we were trying to get people out of their cars and onto the train, and we succeeded with that. Now we have got an attractive enough offering for people who don't have cars to feel, well, maybe they don't need to invest in one or can share one with friends and colleagues. And they're getting on the train.
Sure.
One of the things which we're doing is trying to improve our access to the stations for those people who don't have cars. And that's where our partnership with the minibus taxi associations is growing year on year. Fantastic growth. I think it doubles every year. And those smaller sort of 22-seater buses are much more agile in terms of getting to new areas. We're looking at opening up another 8 or 9 routes over the next 2 to 3 years with those mini buses, and hopefully we can attract and keep these younger passengers, new passengers. Fascinating story.
No, so certainly, and also an improvement for the environment. We know fewer cars on the road, less emissions out there into the climate, which is what we're all working for as a collective. I'm going to go to PRASA right now because we're still sticking to passenger rail. And Nelson, I don't know how you grade yourself, but I'm going to be the strict principal and say that the report card that you've released as PRASA this time around, you do not go to the next year. Because, I mean, you are reporting a 74% decrease in the productivity of PRASA's trains. There's a 73% decrease also in the amount of passengers per kilometre that used the service in the past year. As you score yourself and you reflect on what is going on in PRASA, please share those thoughts with us and how we should interpret the sharp decline within the rail service.
Good morning once again, Fifi, and the panelists that are here today. I think first of all, let me acknowledge, the shareholder by entrusting this responsibility to PRASA, as well as the the board that has been overlooking at these operations to make sure that we operate safely and we recover as quick as we can. Management of PRASA, the employees, contractors that are assisting us, as well as RSR, that is ensuring that we comply with the safety standards, our customers, and the media at large that are covering positive progress that we are seeing in PRASA as a whole. Now, one of the first things is that we are taking safety very serious. And this year alone, we have adopted the Asipepe Safety Campaign, just make sure that we resuscitate the safety culture. Now, coming to the progress of the numbers that we have observed is that we are recovering from the worst situation of the theft and vandalism. We are on the third year now, and on the year under review, we really took a dip when we were completely closing down some of the lines to make sure that we rebuild them and bring them in the better conditions. And I think from there's quite a huge improvement that we have observed. And as we speak, compared to the numbers of last year, where we closed the year by moving around 16 million passengers, this year, as we speak, we have already passed that number, and we are targeting to move around 35 million for this year. And I must also say that it was not an easy journey to recover the extent of the damages that we have in the infrastructure. But PRASA, indeed, with the support of the relevant stakeholders, we have undertook the rebuilding program. And I must say that it was an accelerated one, just to make sure that we recover the network, we ensure that we roll out the new fleet that we have in the systems, and build that confidence on the market to ensure that we move people safely. And I think that was the most important achievement, that we've managed to observe that people are comfortable in our systems, especially riding in the new trains that we have compared to the type of fleet that we had before. So the numbers are growing. Yes, we agree that in the previous financial year, there was a dip, but I think there are positive spin-offs that we observe. And I think this is through an effort. It's not PRASA alone that is at work. There's a support from various stakeholders just to make sure that we bring that level of confidence against to the passengers with all the responsibilities that we are entrusted in by the department itself.
You are pointing to a turnaround there, and I'm just wondering if there's anything that can be done at this present moment in time to accelerate that turnaround, because I do think the fact that 97% of these negative occurrences continue to be theft and vandalism is very, very worrying. And so it's just a platform to give you, sir, just to say, yes, we're improving. What more does PRASA need to improve more?
Thank you once again, Fifi. Look, as I've said, that it was not a real easy journey, but with the building of the capacity around the integrated security plan, we have really saw positive spin-offs. And I can safely confirm that in all the lines that we have recovered, I mean, the work that we have done so far, we have recovered more than 20 lines, and of which 16 of them, we have recovered them with the new trains. And in all the lines where we have recovered, we have not really experienced safety-related incidents. Now, if you look at the graph of the security incidents in the PRASA environment, we see the downward spiral, but it doesn't mean that it's just well and good. Probably someone might argue that there's nothing to steal anymore. But I must say that the team is hard at work to make sure that we protect these assets and don't experience what we had before. So that confidence, you see it in our customers as well. Get inside the trains, customers are comfortable to use their gadgets inside the trains because they can see the availability and the visibility of the security inside the trains as well as the stations, even on the lines where we run trains. So we are hard at work to also recover some of the lines that are behind. For this year alone, our target is to recover 16 lines. And for this year, we have already launched about 4 lines. We are hard at work to bring other lines back. And I must also say the important thing is to bring these lines just so that we run the trains on them, because by running a train is a mitigating of safety as well. So it becomes a bit difficult for the criminals to actually target these areas when there are trains running those lines. So that is the work that has been done by the security. And I must say that there is a strategy in this particular space of also fencing the rail reserves, because that's one area that is actually leading to some of the incidents that were read in the report, to make sure that the public is protected against the rail reserves, to make sure that we provide a safe environment, not only for the passengers, but even for the public that is using some of these lines to access certain sides of their areas.
Okay.
That's basically what we are doing in the security space. Thanks a lot, Fifi.
Mandisa, to come to you, ma'am. Transnet has been spoken about so widely for most South Africans, I suppose. What the mining industry has also been saying has contributed to a lot of us becoming a lot more aware of the challenges that have hit Transnet in the recent while. Right now, the report talking about the fact that the Transnet freight rail specifically did see a 12% decrease in train kilometers, and the tons that you moved per kilometer essentially fell by a third. With that said, it has also been noticed the amount of arrests that have come around as a result of more security being deployed to arrest some of the theft and vandalism that has been witnessed across Transnet freight rails infrastructure in the recent while. But just reflect on the year as you felt it, ma'am, and whether there is an improvement in your view, or whether much still needs to be done.
All right. Thank you very much, Fifi, and good morning to all the panelists, as well as those that are listening from various areas. I think I would like to start the Transnet journey from the COVID year. I think we need to really understand that COVID, caused a lot of damage to the Transnet environment. And, this stemmed at the time when the actual operations were reduced significantly, and only those that were seen to be essential services had to be run. And by so doing, it meant that we ran fewer trains. As we ran fewer trains, then it created opportunities for people to have themselves in the process. So post-COVID year, we then also had a challenge that I think is now publicly known in the markets, generally in South Africa, that we started suffering the consequences of the contract, for locomotives, where we had lesser locomotives, and the new ones that were supposed to come through did not come through. The spare parts that we needed did not come through, and that reduced the resources that we had to work with. In addition to that, it is public knowledge as well that we work with infrastructure that has a history of underinvestment. So when theft and vandalism hits infrastructure, that is not at its highest point, and it's done frequently so. All of that, what it means is that the opportunities to run trains on this network are less. Now, in the railway space, we chase our cycle times. By then cycling our resources faster, then it means we are in business. As we cycle these resources faster, we then move volumes. And when I say faster, within the defined parameters, safely so, but the more we cycle our resources, the more we move volumes. Now, with trains not completing their journeys because, various members of the society are actually, either vandalizing or, actually stealing the actual components on the rolling stock itself, in the trains and the wagons, or on the network, means that train velocity, movement from point A to the destination being point Z becomes a bit impossible. So we're confronted with a situation where, a normal flow that would cycle its wagons twice in a week, these days we find that it cycles once. So in that case, it's understandable that indeed the markets would not be served at the right level. And that is something that we are dealing with. But I think it is symptomatic of, where we find ourselves, the landscape in which we operate. And well done to the Gautrain. I think, they've done well, But I think that, what we need to strive towards as well as other rail operators is to then have an environment that is well protected like that of the Gautrain, and also have a bigger vision, with government involved, to make sure that as we plan the settlements, as we plan projects, we are planning them to move, activities that are causing or increasing the risk, on railways. Unfortunately for us, that remains a challenge for the rail operator and stuff that we really need to deal with. So yes, it is a fact that the other year we ended the year at 173, and last year we ended up at 149. Performance we're not, proud of, but we continue to look at ways to improve that. But a bigger portion of this non-performance is due to these exogenic factors that I've referred to.
Sure.
But then there are those also that we have to deal with within. Hence, today we talk about a Transnet turnaround strategy. And this Transnet turnaround strategy is actually geared to make sure that indeed, we go back and stabilize the rail environment post-COVID and chase growth, but in that also build the confidence with customers and the various stakeholders that are out there. Okay. And we also understand that safety is a critical aspect of that, because in the process, as people vandalize, then they impact, be it the signaling, equipment. And when that happens, then it means we now have to resort to manual operations. With manual operations, comes a lot of pressure on our, train control officers, on our train drivers, who now need to be extra careful because the landscape has changed. They are working in abnormal environments. With that increases the risk of human error. Now, that is number one, to say, if we then focus on security and make sure that, we reduce the frequency and the severity of theft, vandalism, as well as that of sabotage, then we are winning some gains to then begin to run trains more often than we have been.
Sure.
But also, the whole issue of theft and vandalism, it then puts Transnet in a difficult situation in that already we mentioned the backlog in terms of the infrastructure investments. Transnet is committed to making a difference like now. We've adopted safety now as a value, not just a priority in the organization. And we're looking at the safety of the employees, the assets, the communities, name them. And it's a journey that we are willing to walk, and we're going to walk it vigorously so.
So
and
if
having
we,
said
if
that,
we stick
with
to
them,
the safety, if we stick to the safety aspect, ma'am. So right now, it's also publicly known that business and government are working together on various clusters in the economy just to try and make things work. And one of the clusters is security, and we do know that there's more collaboration in that regard to try and fix areas of vandalism and sabotage, as you're talking about, across specifically the rails that have been a victim to this. Maybe a comment on that, but more importantly, you congratulated William and you acknowledged the improvements and the good work happening in the Gautrain, but you also said it would be nice to get some of that safety or protection that is enjoyed by the Gautrain. And I'd just like to know what that looks like. Ultimately, what you'd need.
All right. What that looks like, Fifi, is that if you look at the Gautrain network, it's well protected. If not all of it, most of it is fenced off. All right. Now, that is an impossibility with the network that we have, with 22,000 track kilometers, crisscrossing communities, with a community that is settling one side, and then the schools and the malls are on the other side. So their basic needs actually force them to crisscross these railway lines. Even in instances where, as Transnet, you then install a fence or even build a wall, they find a way to open a gate for them to go through because of the way in which the whole settlements are planned. Hence, we need to look at the root cause and then begin to say what factors increase the risk in the railways. So the settlements that are not properly planned, they significantly contribute to that because people are going to pursue that they need. So by planning it well to coexist safely with rail is one big deal, which is what the Gautrain has currently. So our network, even the service roads, when you enter a Transnet service road, you'll find that there's a board that says, please, this is a private property, no trespassing is allowed. However, there are communities that have established themselves around that area to a point that if we were to try and stop entrance to that service road, I tell you, we would have the biggest doi in that area and trains would not move. So that is part of what we need to start eating, in small chunks, to say, how do we, cleanse the planning that is causing a problem to the railways? And secondly, it then says when settlements are this close to the railway lines, then when, theft and vandalism happens, even with the fastest reaction team, by the time they get to the site, because the settlements are right next door, it's very difficult to find those people. But through other means, intelligence involved and deployment of technologies, we are beginning to think that, yes, in certain areas, particularly on the O-line, we've seen some good wins there in terms of deploying technologies, and we've seen a significant improvement. But in some areas, it's still going to be a tall order, because the way it is structured, it is not protecting the railway line. In actual fact, the railway line is the playground for the children growing up in those areas. Those are some of the things that need to change.
Sure.
Thanks, Fifi.
Thank you, ma'am. And it speaks to, I guess, the level of collaboration that are needed, because the very same people that you're talking about who would doi if they were removed from the settlement area in which they are calling a home, would probably not if they were given a decent home or adequate housing to actually live in. It probably would be a more seamless process. And I suppose, Deputy Minister Mangu, if you're still with us, so it's just coming back to you and just speaking more broadly about the vision of collaboration that you shared with us, and exactly who needs to do what within the entire pie to improve the state of rail and or state of safety across our rail, but not only that, to improve the efficacy and the effectiveness of our rail network. So collaboration in an ideal world, what does that look like, and who is at that table?
Well, thank you very much. I think collaboration is really amongst government departments, firstly, which is what is happening at the coordination level at the president's office, because Transnet Freight Rail would fall under a department different to PRASA, different to Rail Safety Regulator. That's the first thing. And those are the initiatives that have happened. I think the acting CEO mentioned that a bit earlier on. Secondly, amongst operators, to share experiences, to make sure that although there might be competition outside, but there is need for cooperation in terms of sharing the necessary challenges that they face, of which they can leverage. So a report like this begins to expose those particular things. And our responsibility now as a department is to find what are those areas beyond what is already happening, where we can pull these stakeholders at the operator level, at the regulator level, at the regulatory or policy level, to make sure that everyone speaks together for the good of the country.
Sure.
That is, in a nutshell, how I could say that is who needs to come together and what are those strings that we need to pull from a government point of view to ensure that this collaboration does happen.
We see acting CEOs, and we see a changing of CEOs, and just instability at the top that perhaps is reflecting further down on the track. So just a comment on leadership and governance and the thinking around how this particular area can be strengthened to improve operations at the bottom.
Well, I think there are a variety of aspects that would cause that to happen. In the instance of PRASA, for instance, today, you have a permanent CEO. It might be that he's out of office currently, and therefore there's an acting person. So it is not a permanent issue of an acting person. But I know you were saying broadly, yes, that is an issue. However, there are many factors. One of them is that government is tightening screws, is making sure that we have the right people for the right jobs. But there is stability in many of the institutions, especially under transport, beyond the individuals who might be acting or not acting. For instance, the Rail Safety Regulator, that its report we are talking about today has received a clean audit in the previous financial years. Currently, they are still busy with the Auditor General of South Africa. That talks to governance, that talks to stability, whilst the fact that there's still somebody acting should not be overlooked. And it's something that the board is seized with, and we have instructed them to close that matter as quickly as possible. In the case of PRASA, there have been challenges in terms of spending and in terms of directing the capital spend of the entity to make sure that we get as many trains on the tracks as possible. It's another thing to get a train back on track or a service, but it's another thing to make sure that it is servicing the needs of the people. And these are the things that we are instructing the Board of Control there to ensure that these things do happen. So yes, we are concerned, and we are doing everything we can with the few examples that I've said to stabilize the situation. But there are areas which RSR for us is one of the shining examples. They have produced, as I say, clean audits in the previous 2 financial years. What does that signify? A clean audit talks about good governance, talks about being able to account for whatever resources you were given that are public resources to do what you are supposed to do.
Chair, I'm going to come to you. You got a thumbs up from the Deputy Minister in terms of the governance within the regulator, the rail safety regulator. I see also that in the year a lot more activations were done. You went out, you informed a lot the public, particularly the passengers, around rail safety in the year. You conducted a lot more audits amongst the stakeholders in the system, and also did a lot more inspections. Just what did you learn? What did you find in going out on the ground, and what are you hoping the results to yield?
Well, the first most important thing that we have as RSR is to ensure that as we go about ensuring that our people get transportation from point A to point B, it must not just be cheap transportation. It must be cheap and safe, so that it takes off the burden that many of our communities are facing, because we know that we are living in tough economic times where every rand that people spend matters. So when we go on these campaigns, the first important responsibility that we are trying to achieve is for people to respect trains, and also for the operators to ensure that the train ecosystem is integrated and provides the kind of assistance that our people require. So we have been to schools, because if you look at the report, it tells a lot about people struck by trains, level crossing incidents, which are things that even the acting CEO of Transnet has spoken about, that of communities that are living on either sides of the rail tracks. And also it speaks to the way in which our settlement patterns have been planned by local government. So we intend to have a situation where, for whatever what local government plans, should take into consideration what the rail systems that we're having in this country are able to operate without risking the lives of our people. So we want to make sure that finally, when we have got trains running from every point of our society to the heart of the economic activities, people are able to seamlessly transfer from one mode of transport, be it your taxis, be it your buses, to the trains, and vice versa. And also ensure that we contribute towards lowering the costs of doing business, which over a period of time would also contribute to cheaper goods and services that our people will be enjoying.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Muso, in your forward in the report, you rightly make the argument that right now engagements around embracing digital revolution, around addressing climate challenges and how these things can contribute to economic rejuvenation should be happening a lot more. But I would argue that perhaps they're not happening as much as they should be because of all the other distractions that are being dealt with right now, primarily distractions from the vandalizers, the thieves, and those who are trying to sabotage the rail network. At the start of this conversation, I said, you don't come with a good story to tell holistically. And so I want to finish this conversation by asking, I mean, we are looking at the picture of the state of rail and safety as it does pertain from the pictures that stood in March. We're now headed towards the end of the year. As a regulator and a person and an institution that has oversight into the entire system as a whole, what do you think needs to be put in place, needs to be tightened to ensure that this time next year, God willing, if I'm still having this conversation with you on your next report, there's a better report to deliver?
Yes, Fifi, I said we are not proud of where we are, but we are encouraged. Why are we encouraged? There are some green shoots.
Sure.
Yes, Transnet, as rightly indicated, is going through a bit of a difficult time in terms of number of trains moved. But if you look into the data, last year, the average load per train was higher than it was pre-COVID. Why is that? They found a way to move, even though they're moving less trains, they're moving longer trains. Instead of moving 50 or 60 wagons, they move in the hundreds of wagons. That inadvertently has improved their safety performance record. Another example of Transnet, they're not a security company. Both them and PRASA are not security companies. And we need the law enforcement and the intelligence agencies to come on board and partner with communities and the operators to improve the picture around theft and vandalism. But they've begun to find a way. PRASA on the Mabopane corridor, they've had minimal incidents of security. It's common cause, though, that the amount of spending, drones, protection services, the walling and everything they've put there is not sustainable because they are not a security company. TFR, a bit of ingenuity, they've got some ingenuity with their security service providers to almost pay them on a prevention type of a contract. And through that arrangement, they have improved the security situation. So the operators are not standing back. They are trying to do their part, but they are not security companies. The one thing we need to do is we need to involve law enforcement because we do have a crime problem. So I hope in that area, as the Deputy Minister rightly says, there will be greater collaboration. When you dig deeper into the numbers, yes, Gautrain, they are moving around 35 passengers per train. PRASA, it's about 19. When we come back next year, Gautrain, undoubtedly, I expect them to go closer to their pre-pandemic levels. They were moving about 200, closer to 400. PRASA is a mass mover. They're supposed to move masses and masses of people. Their number is supposed to be double. As Nelson has correctly indicated, they are submitting requests to the regulator almost weekly to open corridors. We are considering them. We are granting them approvals. So I do think when we come back on the operational, on the productivity side, we would have increased. I hope it translates into the operational occurrences decreasing, and security, it's a joint national effort that we need.
Okay. Deputy Minister, perhaps, sir, to give you the final word, particularly around security, Muso just talking about the fact that more is needed in the space. You did highlight this level of collaboration, but if we just talk about the possibility of a lot more security being deployed across our rail networks to ensure we've got a better story to tell next year or this time next year, is this something that you are pushing for within government corridors, sir?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Fifi. Well, at what we call the Justice and Crime Prevention Strategy Cluster, which is a cluster of cabinet ministers and deputies, this is top of the agenda. So what the acting CEO is saying is happening, and it is something that we will definitely be seeing improvement. On the other side, only yesterday in Parliament, we passed the Rail Safety Regulator Bill. Out of the National Assembly, it will be going to the NCOP. We are hoping that by the end of this term, we will be able to get the president to sign it if he's happy of the constitutionality thereof. It brings some elements of strengthening the gaps that government has found in the existing act that has made the current RSR to be in existence. And lastly, the bigger picture we are dealing with as government is really rearranging the issue of apartheid spatial planning continues to really intimidate us, for lack of a better word. What the panelists from TFR says about the settlements, that is a direct result of apartheid spatial planning, which government is working very hard to reverse, to make sure that people are put in the right places, not only for safety, but we find that in cases of floods and so forth, people are found in the wrong places. So there's a bigger crisis we are dealing with. But I believe that now that we have identified the issues, we know where their problems are and the pressure points, despite the fringing, or reducing fiscal envelope, as we are running out of fiscal runway, we need to find innovative ways of solving these things. Technology, collaboration, and but from a government point of view, yes, at the cluster level, at cabinet, crime across the board, priority is our rail corridors, our road corridors, and the legislation we've passed yesterday in the National Assembly will assist us to go a long way there, and the reorganizing of our communities, where they live, how they move, is something that government is attending to.
We'll have to see what does unfold in the year ahead as we have come to the end of this discussion for today. We are wrapping things up. It has been a pretty riveting on the state, of course, of the railway safety. Some key takeaways for us to certainly digest and to see how they best can be implemented to get things back on track. I would like to thank my panelists right now who have joined me, given their time to join us in studio to contribute to this conversation of national importance. Mr. Boy Johannes Nobunga, the board chairperson of the Railway Safety Regulator, who joined us in studio. William Dax, CEO of the Gautrain Management Agency. Pressure on you to ensure that you do even better next year. William, from the acting CEO of the RSR. Of course, we've got Mandisa Mondli, General Manager for Safety at the Transnet Freight Rail. Thanks so much for your time this morning, ma'am. Nelson Malafane, Acting CEO of PRASA Rail. Thanks for your time. And last but not least, Muso Silaledi, Acting CEO of the Railway Safety Regulator. Actually, last but not least, the Deputy Minister of Transport, Minister Lisa Mangu. From myself, Fifi Peters, and the crew here at CNBC Africa, of course, it is a goodbye for now.